Hello, welcome to Valerian Bay. I'm Suzanne and I'm so pleased that you're here today. So, are you scared that people are going to think that you're a bad person? Are you afraid of judgment? Are you afraid that if you do certain things, take certain actions, that people will think you're bad? Is this paralysing you with fear? It can do. It can really cause delays and anxiety and worry and concern about how you're going to be perceived or judged by others. It's a horrible feeling to have. It's a horrible feeling. I've been there. I understand it. I spent nearly 40 years with this concern until I really truly started to understand what was building it and what created it in the first place. So very often when we are children and we were in an environment in which there are certain situations where a lot of pressure is being applied to our parents, so it may be that another sibling is quite emotionally vocal. It could be that there are arguments going on with the parents. It could be any number of things that are applying pressure to the family, household, or the environment that you're growing up in. We start as children to recognise that. We're very perceptive. We recognise it. So we start to try and be a good child. And in our minds, what a good child means is to cause as less bother as possible and to try and act as if we are happy and that we are in a good place, and to not show any negative emotions because we recognise that that will apply more pressure to the environment that we're in. And if more pressure is applied, our interpretation as a child is that that environment could fall apart. Either the responsible adults could leave that environment, which is very stressful at a subconscious and unconscious level to a child, because we need adults for our survival as children. So it's hitting on some really scary aspects for the child. So we start to try to be this good person, or what is considered a good person, and that means not showing any negative emotions, trying to comply, trying to be vigilant of other people's behaviours, and trying to ensure that nothing that we do impacts negatively on anybody else. And then we carry that on for the rest of our lives. We carry that behaviour into adulthood, and this is why the impact of feeling like somebody might think you're a bad person, or the judgment that you're not good in some way, can be so strong and quite a traumatic feeling. Is because it relates to childhood survival concepts deep within the subconscious and unconscious mind. So there is a saying of hysterical, historical, which means that if you feel something really strongly and quite a strong panic, usually it will relate to something from quite a long time ago. And the experiences you've had in life have been able to build on top of that initial experience, which has just magnified the intensity of the reaction to the experience that you're having. So how do we start to undo this and to wriggle the edges of it? Well, the understanding of this concept in the first place will be helpful. We also then need to recognise that all emotions are good. It's how you use them which is considered bad or good. So emotions are there to give you information so that you know if something is pushing against a boundary of yours, if some sort of behaviour towards you is pushing against a value that you may have. It's so important to allow yourself to recognise different emotions like anger, resentment, sadness, different things like that, and to be able to acknowledge them and take necessary action if required. So the first step you can do is you can start to recognise your emotions, acknowledge them, observe them rather than reacting to them, but just start to acknowledge them and tell yourself that you appreciate the emotions that you're having, because it will start to release some more and they'll start to come to the surface a little bit. If you are having strong emotions, what you can do is a process called emotional stress relief. So you cross these two fingers and you put your thumb and these two fingers on your forehead, preferably in alignment with your pupils, sort of in the middle of your forehead like that. And as you're feeling the emotions, you can think about what is actually happening. And this part of the brain at the front here is the progressive part of the brain. So it will help to bring the energy forward to that part of the brain, which then does help to clear any negativity actually happening. So that is one aspect you can do. You can also use that process again of this to maybe go back and think of a time when you were a child and go as an adult and give that child some love and support. And usually we need to give ourselves some forgiveness of what we may or may not have done, even though it's potentially unreasonable. The perception is not necessarily a logical, sensible one, that as a child you were doing anything wrong. So just go back as an adult and give loads and loads of love to that child aspect of you in your mind while you're doing this. Just imagine that, and just as an adult know that you are now responsible and can take any actions that you want to without fear of repercussion, because you are safe. And just keep chipping away at that little bit at a time, very gently, without going into too many deep emotions, but allowing yourself to observe and recognise that those emotions do exist, and understanding why there is such a fear around how you might feel if being judged. And then you can start to practice taking certain actions yourself that will allow you to be more in alignment with the true core of who you are, because you are unique, you matter. What you say and think and who you are is a gift to the world. So allow yourself to be seen and heard, and just practice that a little bit at a time. I wish you a wonderful day. All my love. Take care. Goodbye.